Usually, most recipes I've looked at say that it takes to about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on if you're a beginner or depending on if you are a seasoned pro, um, per se. And then again, like Caitlin and I mentioned, it is served with tradition like coffee or tea. And I actually looked up this website and it has a Turkish delight coffee recipe. So I'm gonna just read a little bit of that to you. Whoops! If it doesn't keep popping up different recipes, hold on. Or different pages. Um, so yeah. Ooh, it almost looks chocolatey per se. Um, what is it? Must be interesting. So they call it Turk Kalavasti is what Turkish coffee is called. Very popular drink at home. Mostly used in like ceremonies, like engagements and stuff. Um, Apparently, for this, you would need a long special handle pot called kivit kiv called sivel. Small coffee cups called fincan, and a special coffee mill. Um, all special Arabic beans, um, which Turkish actually is Arabic. Um, or this Turkish delight comes from an Arabic origin. So yeah, I will leave you that link. It came from both the coffee recipe and the Turkish delight recipe came from that odemannzentable.com. And that's according to that one. Um, so, and then, um, so here are some other interesting facts that I looked up. There's this, according to Turkish travel vlog, which is where I found the um, women are only allowed in family based Turkish tea houses. And how you, I guess, can tell is if there are men playing like cards and stuff, then you don't want to be there. Basically. I'm guessing that if you go over there, they're gonna beat you to death. Or scream at you in Arabic. um, so I kind of found this kind of interesting. So, Hos Glendeles, it's a phrase that's not very often used in like the home or anything. It's more used in like restaurants and bars, and it basically says welcome, and it's basically like saying, "Am I welcome here?" And then basically any Turkish person would say something along the lines of in Arabic, you know, yes, you are welcome. It's kind of another sign of respect in the Turkish culture. Um, and I guess the return of that would be Holst Balduct. which means we feel welcome. Um, and then like during social gatherings, if you're like invited to a party or a chrysanthemum or whatever, um, and this is what I find funny. This tells you how social Turkish people are. Um, so even if you don't know the family at all, or you've only known them for a little while, their motto, I guess, is like more the merrier. So the more people that are there, the better. Um, so like a person will update you on everything when you're there. Um, and um, and then I guess this is interesting. And this is probably just interesting to me because I'm almost 21, but whatever. Um, Alcohol is served at any ceremony depending on like the family and like their background, because some Muslims don't drink, like they find it disrespectful to like Allah, their God or whatever. Um, so I guess it's traditional to buy the guest of honor small pieces of gold from a jewelry shop or give them money. Um, they're not widely recognized, like wrapped presents aren't widely recognized in Turkey, so you never really want to give, sorry, white balance is off. You never really want to give them wrapped gifts, I guess, because it's not very common. And then when you're invited to somebody's house, you basically, um, you basically go in and say like that phrase of welcome, and then if they say the return phrase, then you're welcome to step into their house. Once again, just a sign of respect. Um, and I guess you can't wear your shoes in a Turkish house, so they give you a complimentary pair of slippers to wear around their house. Um, I guess Turkish people are very into also their families, um, because if you go into a Turkish household, you're gonna get fed. You're gonna feel like you're Greek instead of Turkish, because I guess it's one huge platter after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Um, and I guess Turkish are kind of like Russians because we don't take no for an answer and they don't either. So, um, and then of course it's served, I guess, served with popcorn, nuts, fruits, cake, followed by tea and Turkish coffee. And this is interesting as well. If the family's from like a big city, you will be eating at a table. Um, However, if the family is a little bit more poor or lives in a village, you will be eating at like a wooden slab that is put on the floor in the main room. And then reaching for food from the middle of the table. And then um I guess it's just kind of tradition. And I kind of found tradition that if you, or not even tradition, but if you basically say to the chef or whatever, um, if you say to the cook, Eleni's Sagalik, to the cook, this is like a sign of health to your hands, and like shows shows to the cook that you appreciated the meal that they cooked. So yeah. I found this particularly interesting. This is not something you find in America very often. So, and this is not the part, but like during big meals and stuff, the women will prepare the meal. So they'll prepare the meal, and then like when it's time to clean up, they don't they don't wash their dishes like Americans do. They basically have a wash basin, per se. And I'm gonna read this because this is kind of hard to explain. So they do not believe in bathing or washing the items in stagnant water. Therefore, there will be a wash-up bowl or basin, but after they will rinse the plates and cutlery under a running tap. That is also why and I guess there's no plugs in hotel sinks either. So, yeah, that's a bit of background on the Turkish social customs. Definitely a lot of IPC coming through there, especially with the women not allowed in certain areas, as well as respect to the people of the house before you enter the room or stuff like that. So, yeah. And then, sorry, my computer's freaking out on me. And then, so, here's the other thing I want to mention. And I'm going to kind of resort back to, the tradition, per se. Or the original source of Turkish delights. So flour was used to hold like the water and the starch together, because water, starch, and flour were kind of the three main components that made up Turkish delight before or flour and water, and I guess the fat from a cow is what I'm guessing, because we researched something along the lines of that like the fat from a cow, I guess, is more enriching, and it has more of those fatting qualities to put into a Turkish delight. So flour was kind of more used as a bonding agent before starch was introduced. And I guess lokum is produced by using, like the old, as time progressed, it was used by, or produced by making, or mixing sugar, cornstarch, and water in certain portions, and then adding fruit and nuts. And like before it became so popular, it was used mainly towards the Christmas time, and I guess that's just because it was so rare then. You know, as it grew, they say that you know, how chocolate is Turkey's worst enemy, because it kind of dwindled their Turkish delight supply, per se. And it mainly spread